My name is Olivia Crankford, and I'm talking about Mary Wollstonecraft, the writer. She was unlike many other famous writers. She actually didn't spend as much time writing as other writers would. She spent her writing more during her free time and during breaks that she had in her life, and she also actually did it in a fast-paced way. It was a lot quicker than what a usual writer would spend on their writing. Her writing led to her meeting her husband, William Godwin, who is also a famous philosopher who we will bring up again later, and he played a role in her writing also. She was sought out sometimes as a hypocrite in her writing. She felt very strongly about male oppression and how it is not good, but at the same time, she also attacked women and what she believes they stood for. She mocked women's lack of bravery, the love women had for romance, and anything dealing with love or relationships. And even what some women decided to wear and enjoy wearing. She kind of mocked it sometimes. And she also felt that women had a certain role in life, but that other qualities were played into that, which we will mention a little bit later. She was known as a feminist, and through this kind of threw people off in her writing of the vindication of the right for women, because people expected her to write about women empowerment and positive uplooks to the women, and she did that in a way, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. She also blames male teaching on how women were portrayed during this time, which we'll also talk about. This was played into her writing, a main one called A Vindication of the Right of Women. A little bit more about Mary. She had two good friends, Jane and Fanny, who helped to shape the person Mary was. She became very attached to each of them and had plans for the future and what life would be like with them as friends all together, and they actually played a big part in each other's lives, a huge part in Mary's writing. Mary actually wrote love letters to each of them, and in the letters she seemed very emotionally attached and almost to the point demanding on what she expected back from them. So I don't know if that brings back some attachment issues from her home life back when she was younger, or I don't know. So people say her past is to blame for it, and fear of loss from her loved ones is what makes her act in such a way to her friends. And I feel like that kind of portrays in her writing too. She became very widely known from her writings, mainly from the Vindications, around the time she was 33 years old. And this was actually a huge accomplishment to Mary, knowing where she started in her 20s with a father who drank way more than he should have, and a mother who was beaten supposedly by her father. And so she had this terrible home life, and she went from that to writing her own piece of writing. So it was a huge thing to her. And she also had many other relationships and love desires way before Godwin, her last former husband, came into the picture. And a few of those was Harry Fuseli. That was one relationship she tried extremely hard for, but circumstances made it hard for that work. And by circumstances, I'm talking about the fact that he actually had a relationship and became married. And she again showed some attachment issues, some frightening attachment issues, a little bit odd, where she claimed she wanted to actually live with Harry and his new wife. So again, with these attachment issues, just like with her friends, became a little attached to them. And after Harry Fuseli didn't work out, she soon became in a relationship with another man named Gilbert Imlay. And this relationship had its ups and downs. They had their first child together and even considered her his wife. But as time went on and he had to travel for his writing because he was also a writer, he had less time to write to Mary, and it made her kind of irritated and angry, and she took shots at his character. So she said things to him that he didn't like, and she also became suicidal during this relationship. It just had all of its ups and downs. So they had their first child together, which was odd for their relationship because they didn't seem too happy. And she became really upset with the fact that they were becoming distant and even falling out of love. So she decided to write him a suicide note, which actually led him to come to her rescue, kind of brought him back into her life, and actually took her on his riding journey with him across the world. But during this trip, it just didn't work out between them, and he actually fell in love with another person. So she didn't take that too well, which led her to commit suicide again, but actually go through with it by actually jumping off a cliff. But she survived that when some people helped her and found her. So after she becomes healthy again after that tragic suicide trial, she actually marries the former husband I told you about earlier, William Godwin, and they had a daughter named Mary Shelley, who you may know, writer of Frankenstein. But she actually did not get to spend much time with her because at the age of 38, when she had Mary Shelley, she died 11 days after having her. So that's how she had lost her life. So she didn't get to spend much time with her. So that's the main points about her life that I wanted to bring up. Next, I want to talk about some artistic themes, interest, and I chose the theme of independence and freedom and equality with women because in her writings, it's huge themes that go along into that. Wollstonecraft had many different writings that portrayed themes such as that. One thing that she continually wrote about is independence, mainly for women, which includes freedom and equality, which she believes were contributions to independence, or being an independent woman. In one of her writings, The Vindication of Rights of Women, that I will talk about later, she alludes to the fact that women are like slaves, and they are very dependent on others, so not dependent on themselves whatsoever. She claims that men had extreme power over women in all aspects of life, and thus makes the women slaves and just dependent. You can't depend on anybody but yourself. So she claims to be independent, and women must speak up and help in the process of creating equality with men and women, which she believed would lead to independence of women. Uh, her theme of independence goes far beyond just being able to handle yourself and being able to survive on your own. To Wollstonecraft, she portrays the theme of independence as much more as a freedom and an equality, as I mentioned earlier. Because to her, without freedom and equality, you don't have independence, and that's when women need to speak up. From her point of view, speak up, and because she thinks that women can do exactly what men can do, and I believe that too. So, but she also believed that women had certain roles that they had to fulfill, such as being a mother. But that doesn't mean you can't be independent. So that was her point of view on independence, and which contributed to her writings extremely, like in The Vindication of the Rights of Women, because it's a lot about independence. And independence for her can be seen in her writing as equal in social opinions and circumstances for both sexes, male and female, which again ties together the equality and independence that I was talking about. She had her own personal opinions on independence by being able to do things for yourself and speak on your terms without permission, and anything dealing with being your own person, not having to depend on men, which women tended to do back then. She believed that there was two ways to be independent in life, and those portrayed in her writings by thinking for yourself and acting for yourself. And she also made a huge point in the theme of independence is that a woman must be legally equal to men and fully understand that she is not free, or else her mind will forever probably be stuck on the fact that women are inferior to men. And she's also been known to throw some heat at women and sometimes blame them for things happening to that particular sex, saying that we're not brave enough and we're the reason that it's happening because we're not standing up. But she, like I said before, she does believe that women have roles to be a parent, but also become independent for yourself. So overall, the theme of independence to her was equality and freedom, and she wrote that throughout her writings. I mean, she strongly believed in women oppression and anything like that. So next, I'll be talking about her body of work, and the main one that I wanted to write about was A Vindication of the Rights of Women, because that was an extremely popular one for her, and it was probably her most successful. It was first published in London in 1972, and it was the argument of the oppression of women And in her writings, she believes that women are portrayed to have a certain role, and that we're put lower on the scale beside men, and that she was not okay with that. But she said that women are not given the opportunity to speak on their own and be their own person when compared to men. And she also believed that women were almost forced to be inferior to men because they are denied educational rights back then. Because society has this portrayal that women have to stay at home and be mommy and be a wife, which was kind of what women did back then. But she believes that women were capable of more than that, and so she wrote about how women are just as smart and studious as men, but that we just need to stand up for ourselves as women and say that enough is enough and that we're more than just a mother and a wife, a stay-at-home mom. So she believed that women deserve the educational rights just as men get. She used examples that cling to the idea of oppression, like men under the power of military or children underneath their parents. Just setting the example of how women were treated under men. So it's not just the equality of men and women. Other groups of people like that led to a decline instead of an incline in society and education. So that's why she believed that women need to stand up so that women could get education and help the society and the community. And after she does go after her own gender by claiming that we are technically a weaker sex, we are still capable to learn and grasp information. But she does overall explain that women need to stand up for ourselves. Thank you.